All right, so let's talk about some of the biggest mistakes I see when someone is trying to teach the stay command. The first one is going to be letting go of the leash too soon. The next one is going to be trying to implement a stay command without a leash. The third one is going to be implementing a stay command without a good reinforcer. The next one is going to be telling your dog to stay and then calling your dog to you. Okay? All of these things matter, and in the bigger picture, you'll see why. Alright, now I'm going to give you a visual. I'm about to bring Storm in, and I'm going to give you some examples of how to build the stay command. Remember, you're going to need a leash, you're going to need treats, you're going to need patience and consistency. Alright? So again, whenever the dog gets in front of me, I'm going to put the dog in a sit, I'm going to say stay, I'm going to say it one time, and I'm going to mean it. I'm going to back up. I'm going to hold the leash though. That way I have a way of correcting. The purpose in that leash is because if I'm backing up and that dog decides to move a little bit, I can step in and give spatial pressure, and I can say, because me doing that, I'm creating a wall, and it's going to make the dog sit back down in position. But another thing that's going to help you is with that leash, you have the leash here, the dog goes to move, you can say, and put pressure upwards. If the head goes up, the butt goes down, right? So there's your correction. Should only take you a couple of times of doing that before the dog understands that, okay, I can't keep bouncing out of this position. Alright, so marking good behavior and rewarding on time is very important, and correcting on time is very important. Now I'm going to show you that as well. Sit. So with the sit, stay, it's one solid command. You don't want to keep repeating yourself. A lot of people mess up by going stay, stay, stay. This builds anticipation in these dogs, and they start to kind of build up, and then they break out. So two things. You want to say stay, solid and firm, and you mean it, and then back up. Okay? So here, if she tries to move, I'm still connected to this leash. Really, I'm a little too far away to make that correction, but a correction will look like this. Break, sit, stay. If she was to move from this position, now what I can do here is say, and correct her. Not really fair what I did there because she's not doing anything wrong, but I'm trying to show you guys an example. So spatial pressure is a correction. When you step back into the dog, notice how she wants to move, right? That's spatial pressure. So what happens there is as your dog is trying to come out of that sit position, if you just walk in and say, the dog will go back down, right? So, good girl. Break. Sit. Stay. So once you build the stay command in front of your dog like this, what this is doing to the dog mentally is you're building a wall. So that's why a lot of times you see people building the stay command and then they back up like this. Because again, I can walk in and I can make that correction with body pressure, spatial pressure, or I can use this leash to apply pressure up. That'll put her back in the sit position, just like that. Okay? So those are very important. Now, once you build this, and you can get to the end of this leash and you can count to 10 in your head, you can go ahead and start slowly dropping that leash and creating distance. But there's a technique that I use, and I guess you can call it whatever you want to. I call it a rocker. Because what I do is I put the dog in a sit stay, and I'll have the leash in my hand, and I'll say stay, I'll take a step back. If I'm able to take a step back, I come back in and reward. Take a step back, come back in and reward. Now, once that's going pretty good, what I'll do is take a step back, take another step back, come in and reward. Once I can build that pretty good and the dog doesn't come out of that, then I start adding in distance. So let me show you that again. Sit. Stay. Good. Stay. Good. So I'm just taking a couple of steps back just to put myself in motion to see if she's going to move. Good. Stay. If she stays, I go back in and I reward. The goal here is to get to her and reward her for that position before she's able to move out of it. The problem is sometimes we expect too much out of our dog too soon. So for instance, I'll try to show you. Sit. Stay. If I put her in a stay, and I drop this leash and I start backing up, of course she knows this, so she's going to do it. But what can happen with your dog is they get antsy, the anticipation builds up, and then they break out of that. The problem is when they break out of that, you're not connected to this leash anymore. So you don't have no way to correct that in the proper amount of time for a correction to matter. So once they break out of it, they break out of it. So as I'm doing this, what I'm looking for is a threshold. If I'm able to take 3 steps back and on the 4th step, the dog breaks out of that stay command, I know 3 is that threshold. So I'll build right there. I build on 3 steps, and I'll just keep reinforcing that. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, and I'll come back in and reward, 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 reward. Stay, 1, 2, 3, come back in and reward, reward. Once that's solid, then I bump it up to 5 steps and see what the threshold is there. And you'll just gradually keep building that. None of this stuff happens overnight. It takes a lot of time and a lot of practice and a lot of consistency. But that's how you want to build your stay. Again, a lot of people mess up by saying stay, and they drop that leash and they step back and the dog. Of course, as soon as they move, the dog wants to come with them. And there's no way of making that correction. If you can't correct the behavior that you don't want, then they're not going to understand what you're asking of them, okay? So if they just keep breaking out and you say, no, 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 come on, come back, stay. It's a lot easier. You can teach it that way, but it's going to take longer.
So I know the video ended kind of quickly. I had a client come in and I had to take care of them, but that's the basics of a stay command. I hope this helps somebody out. If you've got any questions, please reach out. But I've had a few people say that the hardest command to teach their dog is a stay. So I wanted to take the time today to try to help make that video for you. Anyways, I hope everybody has a great evening. And again, if you need us, reach out to us. Thanks.